You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Yeah, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. Tuesday, February 10th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. A little bit of a late start to the show. I'm hoping we're up on all the platforms that we normally are. That's yet to be decided. We're going to figure that out as we go during the day today. We are live on YouTube. If you are joining us on YouTube, thank you for doing that. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're liking, all of those kind of fun things. Tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing each and every day right here in the Quad Cities. Nearly 1,500 subscribers so far. So we want to keep that growing and building. We are live on X right now. I don't know if you can see it. That's my wonder and my thought. We'll figure that out as we go throughout the morning. But X was great to us, is always great to us. And our poll question yesterday was really good to us as well. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes as well. So hopefully we can get up and rolling a little more on X and try to figure out what in the world's going on with that as well. So we are available on all your podcasting platforms. So whether it's on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts. If you put it Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, you can check out the show each and every day as well. And we want to encourage and hope people do that as well. Also, our viewers in Central Iowa, welcome to you guys. We are on every single evening at 7 p.m. In Central Iowa on the WHO streaming app. We love being there. We love you guys watching us for there. So thank you for doing that as well. Yesterday's show, a lot of fun. Pat Anger on Monday, always a thing on OTA, usually a thing on OTA. So Pat was a bunch of fun. Tyler Tashman was really good, talking Iowa men's basketball. They've won 6 straight games. Bennett Sturtz is your Big Ten Player of the Week once again. He's a Big Ten Player of the Year candidate, despite what some Illinois fans think on social media. We'll talk about that in a second. John Marks also joined us yesterday as well. Today, jam-packed show. Coming up in a matter of moments, Kyle Huesmann to talk a little Iowa women's basketball. They'll look to get back on track tomorrow night when they welcome Washington to Carver Hawkeye. The Iowa women have lost 3 straight, so we'll talk to them about that. We'll also talk some Iowa baseball as well. The baseball season starts very, very soon. Last Thursday was media day. We'll get you caught up on what the Hawkeyes might look like this year, baseball-wise as well. After that, coming up in the next segment, Kedric Prince will join us with plenty of opinions. We'll talk a lot of Illini basketball. We'll talk the Michigan State loss. We'll talk refereeing, which is always a topic, and rightfully so in this situation. And then they have a big week. They get Wisconsin at home, Indiana at home. We'll preview that. Big Ten, or I should say, new defensive coordinator. Ton to get to with Kedric Prince coming up in just a little bit. And then in the last segment of the show, we have one of the newer coaches in the Western Big Six on the girls' side of things, but doing a fantastic job. Lexi Demott, the head coach at Galesburg, will join us to talk about the second-ranked Silver Streaks, 25-3 in the season, an outstanding season so far. I want to get her thoughts on obviously taking over for Evan Massey last year, someone she played for, coached with, and now is the head coach at her alma mater, and talk about the Silver Streaks. And the postseason begins for the ladies next week, and it should be a interesting one and a successful one for several teams around our area as well. So before we get into all of those guests, and make sure you're also taking part in the streaming, the YouTube chat as well. We're talking a lot about those things on the chat as well. So be interactive with us as well. As I mentioned, a lot of news to get to before we get rolling. The Fighting Illini have a new defensive coordinator. Bobby Hawk is his name. He's the Montana head coach, recently retired Montana head coach. He becomes with 8 Big Sky championships. He won 151 games there. He brings a very aggressive 3-3-5 defense to Champaign. So we'll get Kedric Prince's thoughts on a new defensive coordinator replacing Aaron Henry at the University of Illinois. A new AP Top 25 is out. Iowa State is 5. Nebraska 7. Illinois 8. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me considering Illinois just beat Nebraska at Nebraska. But that's the way it is. I think people get caught up too much with it, but I get it. It's a talking point. It's something to talk about. No Iowa in the top 25. My kids get mad about that. They've won 6 straight, 8-4 in the Big Ten. They feel like they should be ranked. I probably am getting that point as well. So we'll talk a little more about that later in the show. And then we do our poll question each and every day here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. And yesterday's poll question, extremely busy. And I'm going to grab that for you right now. It was an over 630 votes. Who has the best case for the Big Ten Player of the Year for the men? Who's the best case? Not going to win it. Who's got the better case right now? Bennett Sturtz, the reigning Big Ten Player of the Week, I think 2-time Big Ten Player of the Week, or Keaton Wagler, who I have sung the praises of numerous times on this show. And it can't get any closer. Wagler, 51.7%. Sturtz, 48.3%. So basically 52%, 48%. We'll talk about it a little more with Kedric Prince coming up in the next segment as well. So plenty of things to get to on today's show. But we start with Iowa women's basketball and some baseball and a familiar face right here on OTA. So let's talk a little Iowa women's basketball and baseball with our good friend Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report. It's that time of year, my friend, where you have yourself going in several different directions. Baseball season, it's always exciting for that to get here, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a different feeling every time it comes. Like I'm super excited to watch some baseball and have that be back. But then it's also on the flip side, it's February 10th. Like, why are they playing in a couple of days? That should never be happening. So it's like the one side where it's like they should not be playing. They need to like do all the things like the Rick has always argued, which is move the season back, be able to play some home games early in the season rather than not having anything until March. But then on the flip side, it's like, hey, baseball's here and it's that time of year, so that's always exciting. But this week is one of my busiest of the year, trying to preview the entire team, going through all those articles, and meanwhile the women's basketball team they don't stop the season for me for a week to let me
the
get
nerve of them.
Stuff, so
how dare they?
Yeah, exactly. Right. If they move the baseball season back, that would help a lot. But
yeah.
They don't do that. I don't think it's ever going to happen. So there's always going to be this stretch where things just get really busy.
Well, as they always say about me, I'm a gentleman, so we're going to go ladies first. Nobody's ever said that about me, but we'll still go ladies first. I want to talk women's basketball with you first because it is a big week. Iowa's had a little bit of time off, but they're back in action on Wednesday at Carver Hawkeye against Washington. And we talked about it a little bit last week. A game almost you feel like they need to have. They don't when you look big picture and all those kind of things. But after 3 straight losses, what should the mindset or what is the mindset for the Iowa women's basketball team heading into Wednesday night?
Yeah, I think, for the team specifically, the mindset needs to be just to get back to the basketball that they were playing earlier in the year. I mean, they were really good. They're beating some really good teams, and they've lost to a couple of really good teams. I don't think anybody is faulting them for losing to UCLA, and USC is a team that I know it came at a time where USC wasn't playing well, but that's still a really talented USC team. They've won a couple of games since then. Now they went and they beat Illinois, I believe. So they've won a couple of games now, and then certainly, Minnesota's. The analytics love Minnesota. They have Minnesota as like a top 10 team, and I don't think there's some people that are sold on that. But Minnesota certainly showed that they're a really good basketball team. So it's kind of what we talked about early in the year about the Big Ten, that everybody's capable. Most everybody's capable of beating anybody. And right now, Iowa's just kind of on the wrong side of it. So they've got a big opportunity with Washington tomorrow to kind of try to slow things down, get a win to kind of settle down to some of the panic in the fan base. I don't think the team is panicking right now. But I do think it is a big game because you look at it and, it's not just Washington next tomorrow. They've got to go to Nebraska after that. So that's a tough game after that. Again, it's kind of similar to what I said last week with the Minnesota game. You lose to Minnesota and there's not a gimme game up next. It's Washington. And same with this Washington game. If you don't win it, the next one is Nebraska there. So certainly not a gimme there either. So it's one of those where, maybe it's not time to panic yet, but you can see both sides of it. I could certainly see Iowa go and beat Washington tomorrow, and the losing streak's over. They get a big quad one win, or I could see them lose, and then all of a sudden you're going to the Nebraska game on next Monday, thinking that if you don't win that, you might fall to the wrong side of the hosting bubble. So they're kind of in this weird position right now where they did so much work early in the year with some of those big wins with Michigan State, with Baylor in non-conference play, with Ohio State. Maryland, and that afforded them a little bit of a margin for error when it comes to hosting for the NCAA tournament, things like that. But now they do need to lock back in here and make sure that they get a couple of resume building wins down the stretch.
Kyle, you look at it, and they had a 5-game losing streak last year. It was earlier in the season, a little earlier, I believe, than what's going on right now. Is it just coincidence that there's a 3-game losing streak going on right now? Is there anything you can see? Are there any similarities, I guess, between last year's losing streak, this year's losing streak, or are they completely different?
I would say they're different. I mean, last year they were losing games, close games, and there were some certainly some of them where it felt like they kind of gave them away. I mean, they missed a bunch of free throws in that Nebraska game last year and kind of gave that one away, and did some other things in some other games that they blew a big lead at Oregon. That was the 5th game in that losing streak. This year's a little bit different because I still think they're trying to adjust to having Taylor McCabe out of the lineup. So that's different because they have an injury this year. And I think some people look at it on the surface and say, Taylor McCabe wasn't, she wasn't averaging 15 points a game. She wasn't like all Big Ten defensive player or something like that. But the thing that I kind of said on the podcast with Tom last night was that it's not just the scoring or just, the 3-point shooting that she had. But when you take someone that was averaging 28 minutes a game out of the lineup, and she is a good defender, and she is able to shoot the 3-pointer, and she is, playing that load of minutes. When you take someone out like that, the other thing is she doesn't turn the ball over. She could play 30 minutes a game and maybe have one turnover and sometimes have 0 turnovers. When you take someone out of the lineup like that, it's not just taking her out. Now someone on the bench has to move into that starting role, and someone, other players that were maybe on the bench or other players in the starting lineup have to either play a few more minutes, or someone that wasn't playing previously has to play a few minutes now. And all of that kind of, it adds to the volatility of the roster. All of a sudden, you take someone that can do certain things out of the lineup, and you take Taylor McCabe's 7, 8, 10 points a game out of there, and now you got to find a way to fill in that scoring, and you got to fill in that defensive impact. I still think they're trying to find the right lineup, the right rotations to do that. Because you look at it defensively, right now there's people calling for Kylie Feuerbach to be out of the starting lineup because she hasn't scored a lot lately. She's been struggling a little bit on the offensive side. But you look at it from a defensive perspective, and you don't have Taylor McCabe. So if you take Kylie Feuerbach, who's your best guard or best defender out of the lineup, you don't even have Taylor McCabe there to help. You're all of a sudden putting Chit Chat Wright, who's 5'4", on the other team's best guard. And that's not a knock on Chit Chat. She just doesn't have the size to go guard the other team's best guard. So I was kind of in that spot right now where maybe you can't really cut Kylie's minutes in and say, okay, well we'll let Taylor take maybe a bigger of a defensive load, just because you need that really good defender on the defensive end still. So I think that's one area, and we've seen it. Iowa's defense has really struggled over the last couple of games. Maybe one of their worst, 3-game defensive stretches since maybe Caitlin's sophomore year. You go back that far to when they were struggling on the defensive end. Now they were scoring a million points a game, so it didn't really matter at times. But that's kind of where they're at right now in terms of these last 3 games on the defensive end of the floor. And then even on the offensive end, you take someone like a Taylor McCabe that was very consistent in terms of, and I know she had a shooting slump, but you knew most nights that you were going to get a couple of threes from her. And when you take that out of the lineup, you start to try to find who's going to step up. Now, Journey Houston has stepped up really nicely as a scorer, and Taylor Stremmel's had a couple of nice games, and Chit Chat was fantastic against Minnesota. But Addie Deal has had a couple of games where she's been really good, and then she's had a couple of games where she hasn't quite had the scoring there. Certainly Kylie Feuerbach's kind of going through a stretch right now where she's struggling. And when you take out people out of a lineup, and then you have like an Addie Deal who she doesn't put up 20 points because she's not going to do that every game. Like I said, there's volatility with this roster when you take some people out of it. There's going to be a night, and it could be Washington tomorrow, where Addie Deal has a great night and hits some threes, and Kylie Feuerbach hits a couple of threes, and Ava Hayden and Hannah Stolker, what we've seen, and they could still have like that Ohio State type game, because I think that's the team's ceiling, but the team's floor is what we've seen against the USC, against the Minnesota, where there are some stretches where they struggle on offense, on defense, and it's just a matter of trying to find the right rotations, the right lineups that are going to work from both an offensive and a defensive standpoint, and I think they're going to get there. But again, kind of as you mentioned, the 5-game losing streak last year was a little bit earlier in the year. So they were kind of, once they got out of that losing streak, there were plenty of games left to fix the situation they put themselves in terms of being on the NCAA tournament bubble at that point. Now you look at this one, if they were to lose to a Washington or then go ahead and lose to Nebraska, there wouldn't be much time for them to try to build that resume into a spot to get back into the hosting side of things. So it's a little bit different. Again, I think they would still host us today. ESPN has them as a projected 3 seed. But I'm really interested to see what happens the rest of the way, because I think, like I said, there's just a little bit of uncertainty on any given night because you've taken some people out of the lineup here. It'll be interesting to see. I like I said, certainly could beat Washington. Washington's a really good team. They've had some off nights as well. They could go beat Nebraska. I still think they could beat Michigan. I still think they can beat Illinois. But I still think they could lose all of those games. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they come out against Washington. It is worth noting that last year Washington was the team that was the streak breaker last year when Iowa went up to Seattle and beat them by 25. So maybe that happens again. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of games. And if Iowa can start to find some rotations, start to find some lineups that work a little bit better.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. You mentioned starting lineup. You mentioned explanations and size and all that kind of stuff. Is Iowa's starting lineup different tomorrow night? Do you think it's the same? Do you think it's overreaction that they've lost 3 straight games and you have to go do something drastic? What do you think we see tomorrow night at Carver?
Yeah, we get to talk with Jan here later today, so that'll certainly be a question that comes up. I think they could go to Taylor Stremlo. This was something that Tom and I kind of threw around last night on the podcast that maybe we weren't saying that we were right per se. It was just kind of we threw out the idea of, was Addie Deal playing better because she was starting to grow into her role off the bench and understanding what it takes to kind of produce in that type of role? Or was she starting to score that, the Oregon game, the Ohio State game? Was that more because she was getting, trending closer to being comfortable just playing basketball? You can take it both ways. Was she settling into her role off the bench, or was she ready to be in the starting lineup? And I think that's the question that the coaching staff has to ask. Do you slide Addie Deal back off the bench and see if that gets her going again? Maybe she's more comfortable in that role at this time in her career. And maybe you go with the Taylor Stremlo, who, wouldn't be playing the point guard position like she was when she started earlier in the year. But that didn't seem to affect her. She was really good when she was in the starting lineup when Chit Chat was going through her injury struggles early in the year. So maybe that's a something that they look at. Again, we talked to Jan later today, so maybe that'll be something that they've been thinking about as well. But that would be the thing that I would look at, would maybe be Taylor Stremlo, and bring Addie D off the bench and see how that works out. I don't think that's such a drastic change that if it doesn't work out, you automatically lose the game or so. Like, it's not a game-losing decision to do something like that. So I think it's worth at least looking at. I know some people have said Journey Houston in the starting lineup, or at least more minutes. I can agree with them, maybe the more minutes depending on the situation. But again, if you put Journey in the starting lineup, and you look at what your other guard players are there, you're probably taking Kylie Feuerbach out of the lineup again? And that goes back to what I said earlier. You just can't take Kylie Feuerbach out of the lineup, because then arguably your two best defenders, I think the coaching staff would say that, guard defenders would be out of the lineup. One of them hurt and one of them just off the bench. And I don't think that would work the way people think it would. So I think there's a chance maybe that they go with Taylor Stremlo. We'll see what Jan has to say today. But I think that would be a move that at least it would give them a chance to see, hey, was Addie Deal kind of just more adjusting to her role off the bench? Maybe she has a good night against Washington, and you realize that maybe she is more suited for off the bench right now. But again, I don't have an answer yet, but that would be my thought process if they wanted to make a change.
Kyle, tell us about Washington real quick. It's a good basketball team. You mentioned it's a quad one opportunity. It's at Carver Hawkeye. There's a lot of pluses. I know that there's a thought process from the fan base that the sky is falling, but if this game was being played 2 weeks ago, you probably feel pretty good about Iowa taking care of business at home. But it is a good Washington team. Kind of what to expect tomorrow night with that team before we talk a little baseball.
Yeah, Washington is a really interesting team, because they might be more on the side of the any given night. They could be kind of whatever that we've talked about this season with the Big Ten, where you just don't, you can scout. And I've talked to Jane about this. You can scout and you can prepare and you can watch film. But some of it with some of these Big Ten teams comes down to what team are they going to be that night? Are they going to be the team that you watched on film and said, man, that team was not very good that night, we would beat that version of them? Or are they going to be the team that comes out and you watched on film and went, man, that's a team that's going to be really tough to beat? And some of that, you can prepare and you can scout, but you don't know until maybe the end of the first quarter. Washington's on tonight. It's going to be they're ready to go tonight. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Washington is they beat Maryland in overtime. That was a good win. They beat Minnesota. They beat Michigan. So that was a really big win. But you look at they did lose to Illinois. They lost to Ohio State, and then they went to overtime with Wisconsin in the last one. So they've had some interesting games. They scored 50 points against USC all the way back. That was in the first Big Ten game, so a while ago. But they've just had some of these games where it's been a little weird for them. But they're still a really good team. I mean, Savia Sellers and Avery Howell are really good 3-point shooters. Avery Howell has really had a pretty impressive breakout season as a sophomore. The USC transfer just had 34 points and 14 rebounds against Wisconsin. She's went from being a 3-point shooter at USC to really being able to do everything for them. Has been a fantastic rebounder for them this year on the defensive end, not really an offensive rebounder. Got a couple of good offensive rebounders. They'll get on the offensive glass and create some second chance opportunities. The one thing that they don't do is they just don't force turnovers much at all right now. During there's a streak of I believe it's the last 6 games. I'm trying to look at the stat here. Last 6 games, they're averaging just 10 forced turnovers per game, and their 14.1% forced turnover rate since January 21st is 359th out of 363 teams. So they've really struggled to force turnovers. Now you go back a couple of games. Iowa played a UCLA team that was struggling to force turnovers, and Iowa turned it over 19 times. They turned around and they played a Minnesota team that led the country in fewest turnovers per game. Well, won the turnover battle. They only turned it over 8 times, and Minnesota turned it over 11 times. So it's hard to get a gauge of Washington doesn't force a lot of turnovers. Iowa has turned it over a lot against teams that don't force a lot of turnovers, but they've also been really good in a couple of games, particularly the Minnesota one, even though it was in a losing effort. So if Iowa can take care of their unforced turnovers, Washington's not necessarily a team that's shown the ability to force a lot of turnovers. Which is going to be really helpful for the Iowa offense if they're still trying to, like I said, find the right lineups, find the right rotations, and if they can handle the unforced turnover parts, like I said, Washington's probably not going to force a ton of turnovers, and that will help Iowa kind of get going on the offensive end. I think it's going to be a tough game. I have to make a prediction later today when I write my article. I don't know who I'm going to pick yet, just because, like I said, Iowa's kind of trending in the wrong direction a little bit. But could tomorrow night be the night that they kind of figure things out and find their way? Or, and then you look at Washington. Are we going to see the Washington that has struggled at times this year? Are we going to see the Washington that beat Michigan, the Washington that beat Maryland and, has played well at times? So I don't know. It's very much a toss-up game in my opinion. But it's a game that, like I said, if Iowa gets it, I think that'll really settle things down. It'll put them, again, give them another big resume win to add to their NCAA, their hosting resume. And that would be really big for them going into the Nebraska game because, again, I don't know that you want to be on a 4-game losing streak when you have to go play at Nebraska. Now, Nebraska struggled over the last stretch of games, but again, at Nebraska is not the place that you want to go when you're on a 4-game losing streak. So I do think this Washington game is really important.
Give me the Hawks. I'm taking the Hawks tomorrow night. I think they have. I'm a law of averages type of guy, and they're due to get back on track tomorrow night at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Kyle, baseball season, as we mentioned as we started, is here. Iowa plays games for real coming up later this week. I guess I love asking you your headline of games and all those kind of things. This year's Iowa's baseball team. What's the headline heading into the season?
Yeah, the headline is certainly the pitching staff and just the turnover that they had. Rick Heller has told me that this is the most pitching staff turnover he's had, not only at Iowa, but in his entire coaching career, which I believe spans 38 years with Upper Iowa, UNI, Indiana State, Iowa. So this is a kind of a unique situation for him. And really the whole coaching staff. And then you add in the fact that Sean Kenny takes the Arizona pitching coach job at the end of December. I think really smooth transition to go to Wes Overmueller. I can't remember if we talked about it at the time. I remember saying, when that happened that Rick needed to walk down the hall and tell Wes, hey, you got the pitching coach job. And if he said no, you say, yeah, I didn't ask you if you wanted it. And Wes was actually the one that told Rick that he wanted to be the pitching coach. So Wes had the same thought as me, I guess, just, it needs to be him in that role. It sounds like that transition has gone well. But again, it's a pitching staff with, a couple of transfers that have pitched and are kind of veterans at the college level. But a lot of underclassmen that are really talented. But we just haven't seen them maybe in the role that they're going to have this year, or just really haven't seen them much at all. So I think there's like a lot of upside with this pitching staff. And I've said that the future of the pitching staff is on this roster, but it's just a matter of, are they a year away? Does it all kind of come together? Are there enough guys that emerge into trustworthy roles that they can have a pitching staff that they can allow them to have a pretty good season? But yeah, the pitching staff certainly is the headlining thought going into the season.
Talk to me about the lineup and where does the offense come from and that side of the baseball team.
Yeah, the offensive side is going to be great. I mean, I think they have as much depth as I've seen them have in terms of, maybe not in terms of like elite star. You go back and you look at like a Brendan DeRiggi or some of the guys like a Peyton Williams, some of those guys that were like first team All Big Ten guys. They don't necessarily have that. They might. I think there's a couple of guys. Gable Mitchell could certainly be that. Miles Risley, I think, could certainly be a guy like that. But they just have a ton of depth. I mean, I can run around the whole field here and, they go to the catcher position, which is the only position on the infield that they don't return any starters. They lose Dan Rogers to graduation. He's with the Giants organization. Reese Moore transfers to South Carolina. They went out and did exactly what they needed to do. They brought in a veteran catcher, Matthew Delgado from North Alabama, solid defender, solid hitter, was banged up in the fall, but in the back half of the fall, did some really good things with the bat. I was really impressed by his ability in the last couple of fall games, the Black and Gold Road Series, of his ability to, maybe come up with a runner on third and one out or nobody out. And maybe he didn't get a hit, but he did a really good job. I think he had like 3 sack flies in the last 3 or 4, fall games. Maybe he would, hit a ball on the ground and he'd get out, but it was a ground ball to second base, driving a run. A guy that is probably going to be towards the bottom end of the lineup, but a guy that can, if he can do that, can drive in runs. Carter Jeffrey is a redshirt freshman that's going to back him up. Sounds like he's going to be out for about the first 15 or 20 games of the season. Don't know if that's injury or something else. Wasn't really something that was expanded upon, but he's going to be a guy that when he is back in the line or in the conversation, is going to be a guy that is certainly going to get some time, whether it's just maybe midweeks or maybe a start during the weekend, kind of what we saw last year at times with Reese Moore getting some starts in there. And before he's back, you could see Max Burt, who's kind of a guy that's been around with the program for a couple of years, hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities, but again, a guy I think that they might stick in like a midweek opportunity to give Matthew Delgado a night off. First base to get Caleb Wolf back. He was phenomenal last year. 40 starts, batted .364. Wasn't a guy with a lot of power. I think it was just 4 doubles and 1 home run. They're trying to get the power going a little bit more. I don't think he's going to be a big home run guy, but maybe a few more doubles this year. A guy that you could put in the leadoff role just because he doesn't strike out a lot. He gets a lot of singles, gets on base. But a guy that you could put like 3 or 4 in the lineup just because, if you get him with guys on base, he gets a lot of hits. So you like to have him in a run scoring role. So they have some versatility with him. Tyler Guerin, who's going to be, potentially the Friday night starter, is a guy that's a two-way player. He's come along with the bat. It sounds like he could get some at-bats this year. He would play first base as well. Could also DH, obviously. Sounds like Gable Mitchell could be at second base, maybe at shortstop. He had a great year last year. Again, it's trying to get him to do have a similar season to last year. I think they'd hope for maybe a couple more doubles, a couple more home runs, maybe a few more walks. But again, Gable Mitchell's the team captain guy. The heart, hustle, just all the things that you would expect from a guy from the Gable family. And just kind of looking for him to have the same season that he had last year. And then Cooper Schulte is a guy that's really come along and could potentially be shortstop, which is why Gable would kick over to second base. Cooper, a guy that has flashed potential over last year was his first year at Iowa, but previously at Southeastern Community College, had a really good summer with the Burlington Bees. He's really come along with the bat. They're hoping that he's a guy that can come in and provide some doubles and some home runs. He's got that potential. He's kind of similar to what we talked about on the pitching stuff that you just haven't quite seen him in that role yet. But Rick's really excited with what he's been doing with the bat and what he could potentially be in the lineup for them. A guy that can steal a lot of bases too. He's got a lot of speed, great glove at shortstop. And then, if it's Cooper and Gable that are in there as for sure starters, all of a sudden you look at third base and you got Ben Swales and Jackson Frost, who both split time as part-time starters last year. Jackson started early in the year and was pretty good. And then Ben Swales came on and was really good when Frost had tailed off a little bit. And then when Swales tailed off at the end of the year, Frost came in and was good. They both batted just over 300 last year in their part-time roles. So there's, somewhere in there, there's going to be a guy that every time Rick Heller turns in the lineup card, there's going to be a really good player on the bench in that infield. And maybe a couple of them if you add in, Tyler Guerin or Carter Jeffrey when he's back. So they've got a lot of versatility there. It'll be interesting to see if they kind of, stick with a certain lineup or if they do kind of rotate, if it's Frost and Swales kind of rotating or if Cooper Schulte kind of rotates a bit depending on what he's able to do with the bat. They're really excited about what they have on the infield and really almost the same in the outfield with Miles Risley in center field. Had a good year last year. I think there's more power in the tank for him, more doubles. Only had 16 extra base hits last year. I think he's a guy that can have 20 plus extra base hits and be an extra level above what he was last year. Really good defender. And then the corner outfield positions, they got 4 guys battling for 2 spots. I think Wagner transfer Bryce Phelps is an Iowa native from Denver, Iowa. I believe that's up around Cedar Falls area. Is a guy that I think at his best is a plug and play guy at one of the corner outfield positions. Was an all Northeast Conference selection last year for Wagner. Batted almost 400 for them. They don't need him to bat 400 at Iowa. I don't even know if you can bat 400 in Big Ten play. As an everyday starter, but certainly a guy that gets on base at a high level. Really can swing the bat. Kind of, Rick Kelly kind of compared him to like an outfield version of Caleb Wolf in terms of just really good bat to ball skills. Like I said, I think if he's going at his best, he's a guy that could be out there starting every day. Then you look at the 3 other guys. There's kind of a different skill set with each of them. Jalen Ziegler, really good outfielder, tons of speed, is a DMAC transfer. Was on the team last year, redshirted with an injury. He's a guy that's got some pop in his back and hit some doubles, hit some home runs. Like I said, really good defender, got a lot of speed. He could play center field. But he wouldn't. He's one of those guys that if you put him out there in a corner outfield position, you got 2 center fielders with Risley and Ziegler out there, so that's a big boost defensively. Maybe could be a Friday night guy if you feel like you need defense in what could be a lower scoring game or something like that. You got Kellen Strohmeyer, who's the only corner outfielder that has ever played in an Iowa or started in an Iowa uniform. Had 17 starts last year. Was pretty good in his limited role. Had 4 doubles and 3 home runs. The question with him is if you double his at bats this year, can he kind of do the same thing? Could it be 10 doubles and 6 or 7 home runs, that type of thing? Walked pretty at a pretty high rate in his limited bats last year. But again, if he doubles at bats, can he continue to draw walks at that rate? If he could, he could certainly be a starter out there as well. And then you got Joey Narat, who comes over from Dallas Baptist. Was kind of a part-time guy there. Didn't get the at-bats that really would have allowed him to show his potential. But again, he's a guy that they think if you started him every day, his high-end potential would be to push for double-digit home runs. It's just a matter of, does he get to that level where they're comfortable putting him out there every day, or do you want to split time with him, whatever. So some of this is going to be kind of who emerges, what lineup on what given day, infield and outfield. Do you feel like you need a more defensive lineup one day? Do you feel like you need more offense one day? Just certain things like that. Is it left-handed, right-handed pitcher? Those type of things. I think you're going to see this coaching staff really mess around with the lineups, especially early in the year, to kind of see who emerges, who kind of fills into certain roles. But like they've got, a phenomenal, amount of depth out there. I mean, outfield, you could even throw in Brett White, who comes over from Baylor, Solon, native of Solon. It was he's a redshirt freshman, redshirted at Baylor last year. A guy that's probably not going to, at least to start the season, is not going to be in a role that's going to get him any at bats. But a guy down there that's a talented guy that flashed some stuff in the fall, that if injuries happen and all of a sudden, one guy goes down, 2 guys go down, you don't mind having your number 6 on the depth chart in the outfield to be Brett White, because that's a pretty good guy to have out there. So the offensive side, really, really impressed with the depth that they have. I think they can do a lot of good things this year on the offensive side.
Kyle, you look at it, and last year the expectations were, I won't say low, but they weren't what this team started to be. And then the expectations got really high, and then it tailed off, obviously, at the end. What are expectations this spring when it comes to Iowa baseball for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I need to see this team play a few games. I mean, like I said, offense, I think, whatever lineup they throw out there, whether they're, moving guys in and out of the lineup, I think there's just a ton of depth there. I think they're going to have a really solid offense. So that's the one side that I think is fine. I think whatever they do there's going to be someone that emerges. There's going to be, guys that fill in the roles. I think the offense is fine. It's going to be, what does the pitching staff become? You look at it, can Tyler Gearing come in and be the Friday guy? He pitched, I got it right here. He pitched 16 2/3 innings last year. So he, if he's the Friday guy, that's going to be much more than 6. He made through 16 2/3 innings in his first 3 starts. So it's going to be a major shift if he's, he's going to be somewhere in the rotation, whatever role it is. It's going to be a major shift for him innings wise. He pitched with the Madison Mallards for the last couple of years, so he's got some experience against college guys, pitching more innings. That's the Northwoods League. And then you got Logan Rundy, who's the Florida international transfer who has pitched. He pitched at Kirkwood. Can't remember if he had a stop at Iowa Western before that, but pitched at Florida International, was in the bullpen, was in the starting rotation. A veteran guy that they can kind of lean on in the starting rotation and kind of know what you're going to get from him. And then I think that third starter is kind of up for grabs right now. I think they've got a couple of freshmen that they feel like could fill that role. Maddox Freeze is the guy from Southeastern Community College that could fill that role. And Rick mentioned on media day that he feels like the pitching staff, at least for the Sunday starting role, it feels like it's going to be Guerin and Rundy. But that Sunday spot, Rick said you look at and there's a couple of guys that say, yeah, that guy could be the Sunday guy, or that guy could be the Sunday guy. But then you look at it and say, well, what if we need to throw that guy on Saturday? We might need him out of the bullpen. So I think what you're going to see early in the year is they're going to kind of go with what they feel like they need on a Friday and a Saturday. And then they feel like they have, 2 or 3 guys that could start on Sunday. And whichever one, at least early in the year, whichever one doesn't throw on Friday or Saturday is probably going to get the ball on Sunday. But I don't think they're going to, wedge themselves in the spot where they say, hey, Maddox, you're starting on Sunday. And then on Saturday night go, oh, by the way, we actually need you to pitch now, that type of thing. I think they're just going to kind of let it be open, not announce a starter, and see what happens as the weekend goes on. And maybe someone emerges into that role after the first month of the season, first few games, things like that. But then really in the bullpen, I think Justin Hackett's got to be the guy for this team. Really talented guy out of Winterset, went to TCU, didn't work out there. He's come to Iowa, has had a good year last year in a more limited role, but it's time for him to be a guy that they can go to once, maybe even twice a weekend. Some weekends and be the guy out of the bullpen. And after that, it's going to be, who emerges, who fills certain roles. Can some of the young guys fill roles and have big roles? And can, some of the other guys that have been on the roster for a couple of years, can they come and fill roles? So it's going to be really interesting on the pitching staff side. And when you ask me about expectations, that's the thing why I don't know what the expectations are. Sure. Because I haven't seen a lot of these guys pitch outside of, maybe a fall game or here or there, or maybe some bullpen work, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see at least early, who do they trust early in the season? And Justin Hackett's certainly going to be one of them out of the bullpen. Who's the next 2 or 3 guys that they go to in this opening weekend, and how do they throw? It'll be interesting to see at least just the first, 2-3 weekends of the season. Going to be a tough schedule with some of the teams that they face the first couple of weekends. But who are the guys that they lean on early, and how do those guys pitch? I think it might be cheating, but if you come back to me in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I've seen some games, I might be able to say, okay, as we approach Big Ten play, here's kind of my thought on what the expectations are. But right now, I think there's a lot of upside with the pitching staff. It's just a matter of there's not like a Cade Obermueller and like last year's starting rotation was the starting rotation the entire season. That's not for certain this year. You don't have like a Cade Obermueller that's just he's the Friday guy. He's going to go pitch for every Friday. He's probably going to be good 9 times out of 10. Could Tyler Guerin be a guy that ends up, maybe not Cade Obermueller, but could he be a guy that takes the Friday role and is good this year? Yeah, we just don't know yet. Sure. And so that's, the expectation is going to be certainly to make the Big Ten tournament. That's the top 12 teams. That is, for sure the goal. They have to make the Big Ten tournament. But after that, it's going to be what happens with the pitching staff. If the pitching staff maybe surprises, could this be a team that maybe going in the Big Ten tournament has an outside shot at the NCAA tournament? I think that's probably the higher side of the expectations, would be sneaking into the NCAA tournament conversation. Not to say that the team can't be good. I just, with as much as there is on the pitching staff side in terms of questions, it's hard for me to say, yeah, I think this team can get to the NCAA tournament conversation. So like I said, see them the first few weeks, kind of see who stands out, and then go from there in terms of trying to set some expectations for this team.
It's that busy time of year. You said coming back to me in a couple of weeks, we'll ask you again. The beauty part is I bug you all the time, so we can easily do that in a couple of weeks. Ask that question again. The Hawkeye Report is where you get everything. You're doing constant previews with the baseball team right now. They start later this week. Women's basketball is tomorrow. You'll have that preview up later. Am I missing anything? Your constant content. You're carrying Kakert like usual.
No, I'll be at Carver tomorrow night for Washington, Iowa. I will not be in Phoenix. I will be watching, from Iowa City for those 3. But then I'll be out in Lincoln. I'm going out to Lincoln for the Iowa Women's game on Monday. Yeah, it is. Is it President's Day on Monday? I think that's why it's looking 11 a.m. game. They did it at Ohio State last year, so that's why it's an 11 a.m. game on Monday. So I'll be out in Lincoln for that, and I think once we get past the Monday game in Lincoln, it'll start to settle down. It'll just be games rather than having to preview everything and preview season and things like that. But certainly this week is always a very busy one for me.
Well, we love it. We love when you're busy because that means you can help us out, figure it all out. He's Kyle Huesmann. Enjoy Wednesday night. Enjoy baseball. We'll catch up soon, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, that is Kyle Huesmann, as always, doing a great job here and off the air with Matt Randazzo. I had several people message me this weekend, hey, baseball's, they just had media day. We should talk to Kyle. I was like, I got you. We got it. So, Kyle getting us set up with that as well. So, coming up next, we're going to focus on the Illini. A lot going on with them per usual. And also our poll question yesterday caused quite a buzz when it came to who has a better resume to be the Big Ten Player of the Year. Is it Bennett Sturtz? Is it Keaton Wagler? We're going to ask Kedric Prince that and talk a lot of Illini. See if we can get Ked a little fired up. It's next right here on OTA. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Update with Matt Randazzo here on a funky Tuesday in the Quad Cities, February 10th. Busy show so far. Kyle Huesmann joining us talking Iowa baseball. It's crazy, and he's right. It's February 10th, and we're talking college baseball starting this week. It starts super early. But Kyle, of course, will be our Iowa baseball and Big Ten baseball expert the entire season as well. A little Iowa women's basketball as well with that one. We want to thank you guys for watching us however you're watching us, whether it's on YouTube. X is up and going and looking good again. I was worried about that for a little bit, but I figured that out. I need an engineer, a producer, and maybe a co-host. Other than that, like I'm rocking and rolling, but no, we're having fun. And technology sometimes can be funky, but we got through the morning so far as well. So it's been a big week when it comes to college basketball. We didn't mention it off the top, but you've got a number one ranked team in the nation, Arizona, losing last night at Kansas. And as bad as the Super Bowl was, I think the NCAA tournament's going to be absolutely awesome. I think you can look at 10 teams, 12 teams that if you told me they won the national championship, I'd be okay, that makes sense. Or, at least Final Four teams. I think there's 12 to 15 Final Four teams, if that makes any sense. So it should be a great run when it comes to college basketball this season as well. We did a poll question yesterday. It caused problems. In fact, they're still talking about it now. Who's got a better case for Big Ten Player of the Year between these two people? Keaton Wagler, who I've sung the praises of for weeks now on OTA from Illinois, or Bennett Sturts, the two-time reigning Big Ten Player of the Week. I do think it gets interesting when it comes to Bennett's next stretch. It gets much more difficult, but it's great talking points, and we've appreciated all the feedback. You can give us more feedback right now on the live stream, or you can also on the chat on YouTube or on X as well. But one person that, of course, weighed in yesterday was somebody we got to talk a lot of Illinois basketball with, and that, of course, is our good friend, Kedric Prince. So let's talk some Illini sports with our good friend, Kedric Prince. Happy Tuesday, my friend. First and foremost, did you enjoy the Super Bowl?
No, it was boring. Illinois had a player in it, Devin Weatherspoon. I knew the defense was really good. Mm-hmm. I knew that coming into it, but I like the offense, and defense wins championships. I understand it, and then there's not a lot of interest in either one of those teams. I'm a Midwest guy, kudos to the team, and I'm glad Devin Weatherspoon won a title, and he got highlighted on national TV. But it's just no. It could have been somebody it could have been Minnesota, Detroit. I would have even been more interested if it was. I know you're a Detroit fan. I'm not going to say the Bears.
Deal.
I know, but seriously, it would have been better for me. That's just my personal preference.
Ken, I don't know where to start with you today because I want to talk about Michigan State. I want to talk about the next two games because 2 games at home against 2 rivals when it comes to Wisconsin and Indiana. I started this poll question yesterday and it's gone crazy. And so I want to talk about that with you. And we got a little football news with the new defensive coordinator. I'm going to let you lead. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about Michigan State first? You want to talk about
yeah, sure.
Let's talk because I last week, later in the week on my show, I said I felt like Illinois was going to lose, and it was no disrespect to Illinois, and the script was what I thought. Illinois was due to lose. Michigan State was coming off 2 games, and they weren't going to lose the 3rd straight in that place with other factors involved, if that makes any sense to you.
Really, what are those factors, Matt? I would like to hear some of those. I know you're hosting the show, but Kedric Prince is curious to what some of those factors might be.
I'm trying. I just might
happen to elaborate on some of them. I'm going to do it if you ask. If you bait me, I'm going to do it.
No, I'm not baiting because I'll tell you. And it was great because I got home. My wife was out of town, so the boys and I barely survived. But we went out to dinner because that's how I survive when the wife's out of town. And we saw the second half and overtime. And even Charlie looked at me and goes, "Dad, that's not a foul." And I said, "In the Big Ten?" He goes, "No, in high school. That's not a foul." So it was what I expected, though. You have to expect that, Ked. I'm not saying it's right. That always happens at that place. It's not right, but that's what happens there. It sucks. Go on.
I'm trying so hard. I'm telling you, I am I don't even know. It's probably not going to work. You're right. It shouldn't happen, Matt. It shouldn't. And for any Michigan State fan who's going to listen to this, if you have a conversation with me, you can stay on my social media. But if you come at me, I'm going to make a smart ass comment back to you, and then I'm going to block you. So understand this, Matt. It shouldn't happen. It should not happen. And I am tired. I'm worn out. People are sick of hearing me complain about officiating. I've lost some friends over it. Do better. Be better. Be better. And I don't care if Tom Izzo has been there 100 years. Well, let me tell all the basketball fans, the basketball local national media guys, Tom Izzo has not won a national title since 2000. 2000. 2000. It's 2026, my friend. That's 26 years ago. He's won some Big Ten titles. He's had some good runs. Well, guess what? Illinois was in the Final Four in 2005. I'm tired of that. And here's the deal. If I felt Michigan State beat Illinois and it was not an issue, tip your hat. They've lost games before. They've lost to UConn. The issue at hand is, and what I don't like, and this is how our country is, you can see something with your own 2 eyeballs, and they're like, I didn't see that. That didn't happen. To prove to you my point, Matt, I've had Michigan State fans Want a parent, send me the video of a kid sticking his leg out. Probably, I would say 80% of the country, national guys, local guys, thought that was an intentional foul. If you hear Brad Underwood's press conference, took the high road, he was professional about it. But do you realize if you go back and watch it, and I want all your listeners out there to go, if you can see it, it's all on social media, especially on my Twitter feed. The Michigan State fans are saying that the Illinois player David Merkovic threw an elbow and hit him in the throat. Is why he tripped him.
That was the result of that. Here's what I'll say, Ked, real fast. Don't yell at me, please. I don't know what happened.
You can be true. Tell the truth. I don't care.
It looks like a trip. I don't know if he purposely. That's one thing.
No, say that. Hold on, say that. You know if he purposely did it? Is that what you're going to say? Because I want you to go there.
I don't know what that was. I don't know yet. I'm 50-50. But what I know is late in the game, when there's what's an overtime or in late regulation, when there was two straight trips down the floor where the Illinois player didn't touch a Michigan State player. I'm trying to think which one it was, and a foul was called. I think it fouled somebody off. I think it fouled out Thomas
Ivasic, yes.
Those are the ones. Okay. We can talk about the other, and we can and we will, but those phantom ones late in games where they feel like they have to blow the whistle because they're at the Breslin Center and the place is going crazy, and you call what you see. And when you see something, am I wrong?
No, because that statement, what you just said, is what I say every podcast when somebody asks me about officiating. But have you ever seen this? I don't know if you watch what social media account you have, but there's this one. It's kind of comical. It came out about 5 years ago, and this guy, he was doing some fireworks, and they were like, "Back up, Terry." Well, I want you to back up, Matt, because I got something for you. You're 50-50 on that call, right? Okay, and I'm going to respect that. And I'm going to respect if people are 60-40, 70-30 on it. I went to Rock Island. I got good math skills today. Just kidding.
It. Look at that.
I'm just kidding. So, Matt, what he did before is the issue. He almost hurt 2 or 3 players in the Michigan game. Okay?
No,
hold on. So red flag right there. Everybody in the country saw that. Then the next game, he goes up and hyperextends his leg into somebody's groin area. That's another one. And then he sticks his elbow in the guy's
nicest way of saying he kicked a guy in the nuts I've ever heard. He hyperextends his leg into his groin area. Kicked him in the nuts. And I have a lot of my students listen to me, and I don't want them to come to school tomorrow. So, Mr. Prince, you said the N-word. Having said that, you saw it. So everybody in the country, this isn't like some local thing between Illinois and Michigan. National guys, I've seen it on ESPN, and ESPN doesn't have anything to do with the Big Ten anymore. Okay, so it is an issue. So they should have been looking for it. And if you really want to know who I'm mad at, and I'm going to go on record and saying it, it's the damn Big Ten. They should have stepped up, and he should have been suspended when he kicked the kid in the private. I don't even care if he played against Illinois. I could care less. Truthfully, I'm going to go on record and say this. He could have played against Illinois, then suspend him when they play the next game. It's not because I thought Illinois had an advantage of him not playing. It's wrong to do. It was really wrong to do. I didn't like it. I thought it was disrespectful, and I lost a lot. I used to be, when I was younger, when I had hair and I was really arrogant, I thought, I can't stand Iowa. I don't care about the Big Ten. Over my last 15, 20 years, I don't care if it's a bowl game or not. Any Big Ten team, well, except for Purdue in basketball, I was rooting for them. If you don't think I was rooting for Iowa and when they play Vanderbilt in football, you're crazy. You don't think I root for Iowa women's basketball? I mean, I'm done with it. I want the Big Ten to do well because it's basically 2 conferences. The Big Ten and the SEC, everybody else is trying to catch them. So I want to see them do well. And what these fans are doing to me, and people can say, yeah, kid, you should ignore them. And I should because I'm an adult. They're making it so I don't care about anybody other than what the team I root for or that I work for, and that's Illinois, because I'm irritated with it. Because some people act like you can love your team, but tell the truth. Because I'm okay. Here's proof. I will tell people right now. I love David Merkovic, but he flops all the time. It drives me crazy. He's a flopper. He acts like if you hit him, he acts like he jumped off the 74 bridge or something. He's always flopping. So I can see that. But some people act like
because they love their team and they root for their team, they can't take the blinders off. Tell the truth. It is what it is.
Yeah.
What his play has done has been dirty, man, and I think it's wrong. I'm not a fan of it. And now, putting it back fast forward, you made a comment to me, and I think it wasn't the trip that made me mad, to tell you the truth. The 2 fouls that you mentioned are the ones, my parents were here, and I invited my parents to my house to watch the game, and my daughter said, Dad, they can't come watch the game anymore because we had to be good. I was so mad. My mom laughed at us because I told them in the overtime, I said, you can't come back because I can't stand to sit here and watch this. Matt, this is Big Ten basketball. And I don't even care if it's Big Ten basketball. Matt, those were not fouls. And they should be embarrassed. And I don't know. And the thing is with Fears, he flopped. He flopped, and the officials bought it. So you said it, Matt. If you don't see it, don't call it.
Yeah.
I don't like when I go to a football game if a home team, and if they think it's a pass interference, you hear the crowd erupt, and what do you see? A flag come out. If you didn't see it, don't call it, guys.
Yeah.
And if all my friends out there listening to this and you're mad at me because of officiating, you don't like it, then I don't give a shit anymore. I don't, because it's wrong. And let me tell you a little secret. I'm going to send a subliminal message here. I used to umpire baseball games, and I did. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, there was one lady who said some really, really inappropriate things to Kedric. It was so much so that she was escorted out of the park by a police officer. Now, let me ask you, do you think I did that team any favors afterwards, Matt?
No.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
And if you're mad at me for doing it, so it's human nature. Because what she said, I'm telling you, it was more than one thing. Mm. And I know how officials feel. But they're being paid to do it. And I don't like the fact if they screw up, they're not held accountable for it publicly. So that's my rant. I want them to get better. The Big Ten and the SEC and college basketball and college football in general, there's enough money to where they're trying, because everywhere you turn around, you have to pay a subscription for something. There's enough money to pay these guys to do this full time to become better. You see a guy in Michigan one night, then you may see him in Utah the next. And these guys are 50 and 60 years old trying to run up with athletes today. Matt, is ridiculous. They can't do it.
No,
they can't.
And what you said too about and yes. So if I see it 50, I don't wait. My big thing is I'm more. If I'm an Illini fan, I'm more frustrated. And you just said it with those calls late in the game than I was with the tripping and all those kind of things. Here's the thing about the tripping, and this is just human nature and it's life. And I'm a Lions fan. Remember Ndamukong Suh?
Yes.
He would get personal fouls, stepping on quarterbacks, all these kind of things. So you lose the benefit of the doubt when you have a history like that. So you're exactly right. Jeremy Fears probably lost the benefit of the doubt. So if I said 50-50, it probably going to end up being, I don't know if you watched the show yesterday. This is true. My wife, real fast, you'll get a kick out of this. Every year, 18 straight years now, I've let her place a bet on the coin toss for the Super Bowl. She is now 0-18. She lost for the 18th straight year yesterday.
What are the odds?
Or Sunday, excuse me. So it's crazy. So I have people on social media who were listening to the show last week reaching out to me going, "Thank you, Mrs. Randazzo. Fade Mrs. Randazzo." It was great. Anyways, I only brought that in because of the coin flip situation, not to make fun of my lovely wife. So yeah, that's what. Okay, so I don't think, and I saw the AP poll come out, and it's still weird to me that Nebraska's ranked higher than Illinois, although they just went to Nebraska and beat them. But here's what I tell people all the time: my kids will come in and just this week said, "Why isn't Iowa ranked? They won 6 straight. They should be." It doesn't. I mean, I get it, and it's frustrating for fans, and it's talking points. But in the grand scheme of things, nobody's ever going to say like, "Hey, Ked, you remember on February 10th when Illinois was ranked behind?" It's yes, it's something, but it's not the big picture. The most important thing. I don't think big picture wise. I'm a big due to lose type of guy. I probably shouldn't be, but like they hadn't lost since December. Going to Michigan State and getting hosed and losing isn't a season-defining loss. And now they get to go home. And here's the thing is they did all that, Ked, and Keaton Wagler didn't have a good game, had a bad game. And they still took him to overtime.
Well, you know what, and I'm not trying to take over your show. That's the other thing. Illinois had, even though I thought the referees didn't do their job. I'm not going to say they cheated. They didn't do their jobs. I'll take to be professional about that. He played his worst game. They still had a chance to win. But if I'm being honest, Zonomir is 7'2". He missed 2 lob dunks. They missed layups. They knew the scouting report. Fears and another Michigan State guy, when they shoot the free throw, they pause. So you get lane violations. And Fears is a 90% free throw shooter and you miss. They didn't help themselves either.
No, you're 100% correct. So, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think and now they go home. And maybe you see Michigan State again down the road. And I think I told maybe Jim Madsen this last week, you lose at Michigan State. Would you trade losing at Michigan State for a win against Michigan coming up a couple Friday nights from now?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Going into the game, I don't know if I put it on my social media because I'm all over the place with it. I will stand by my comment. I would have rather beat Michigan State and lose to Michigan at home.
Wow.
I really mean that.
Even with everything about Merez and coming back home and
So here's why I don't care about that. I mean, Michigan hasn't beaten Illinois in, I think, 10 straight games, 9 straight games. It is a fact.
Yeah.
There's some history with me with Jeremy Fears' father. I've known that guy since his son was in 8th grade. I went to Chicago and I met him, and I'm telling you, we have some wars. We had a conversation on Sunday, and it was not good. It was not rated R, I'm telling you, because I was upset. And I said some things I probably shouldn't have said about his kid. And one of them is, I'll tell you one of them, he's going to continue to do this and he's going to get hurt. One of these times somebody's going to take it out on him. It's not okay to keep doing this. It's not. It really isn't. And I knew it was going to happen in Illinois. I'll tell you who I think is going to happen to if it happens again. If he goes to Ann Arbor and he does it in Ann Arbor because it's a road game, good luck. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but my point is, that's what people used to do, and he's lucky not playing in the Piston era.
Right.
When the Detroit
Bill
Pistons
Lambier would have knocked him out a long time ago.
Oh my gosh, Joe Dumars, he would have been done. So I understand that. I mean, so there's some history there to answer your question with him. And Michigan's a great team. Illinois is having an outstanding season. People debated this is Brad Underwood's best year. A lot of people live in the moment, Matt. I don't. I think Brad Underwood, this could be a tie. That year he had Terrence Shannon and Marcus Domass and Coleman Hawkins and Quincy Guerrier. That team was special too. They went to the Final 8. So is it a great team? Yes. And they do have flaws, but they could have won the game even with all. They could have took the game from the officials. I guess is what I'm trying to say. They had an opportunity.
Ken, so let's look ahead to next week, and then we got another interesting topic to bring up. I'm a Big Ten Player of the Year, but this week they come home, and I think I was talking to Jim Madsen last week, and I was like, hey, that's a sandwich game between Nebraska and Michigan State, a home game against Northwestern. I thought they'd win it. I thought they'd win it comfortably, but it's a sandwich game. I didn't know they beat them by. I think Illinois takes some frustration out on some teams this week, and Wisconsin's good, and Indiana's good, but I think they have a chance to put Michigan State in the rearview mirror by doing some really good things at home against two rivals. It's a fun week for Illinois to get over Michigan State. You get two big rivals at the State Farm Center. Your thoughts on the week ahead?
Well, I want to just real quick, for the people who don't know, just because if you're listening to this, you're in the Quad Cities, one of my jobs is I'm a recruiting coordinator. I have a great relationship with these parents, and I'm going to tell you, there was 3 or 4 parents that I talked to one Saturday night and one Sunday. They want to play Michigan State again. They are begging to play Michigan State again. Now, to answer your question, Wisconsin's a good team. They are. They're different because, the old Wisconsin teams was grinded. Now this team shoots the ball. Illinois should come out. They're going to be motivated. They want to start a new streak, and, they want to prove that they belong. They don't want to lose their rankings, and they want to keep, to them it matters. People can say it don't, but it does to them. And I don't blame your boys, Matt, because it does. I like seeing teams up there that you root for. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to try too hard. I know they're going to be motivated to play. I would not want to be Wisconsin, but on the flip side, Wisconsin's coming off of a loss too. And there's an old history with Indiana. So there'll be some extra motivation there to play both of those teams. I don't think you're going to get Illinois to come out sleepwalking. And here's the deal, Matt. You mentioned it earlier, and I didn't comment on it. Illinois has played Purdue, which was 4th in the country. They played the 5th best team in the country in Nebraska the next week. Then you get a sandwich game between, then you got to go play Michigan State. They've had a tough go. If you would ask me prior to those 3 games, I would have said going 2-1 would have been great. So it's not a bad thing. It really isn't. And I tweeted that. You know what? And here's the other thing. Duke lost last Saturday night to North Carolina. They were ranked 5th. UConn was ranked 4th, and they lost. Illinois was 5th. So it's not the end of the world that they lost the game. I'm sorry, it's not. And they lost in the Breslin Center where, not Satan. I'm sorry, I meant to say Tom Izzo. My bad. Silly me. Bad, Mr. Prince. No, I don't care because I think it's bogus. And he gets on the media and lies to people. Oh, we had a talk.
I thought you used to like Izzo. Didn't you used to like Izzo?
I did. So here's you know why I liked him? Remember what I said to you? I liked because I was a Big Ten guy.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. But I started losing respect for him. I'm not trying to stroke my social media page, but if there was a situation where Kofi Coburn got hit in the head by a Michigan State player, the same guy, then Io got his nose broke by the same guy. Okay, and then you look at what Jeremy Fears is doing, and I think a guy named Draymond Green. He he's just the sweetest little old guy in the world. There's a history there, so I don't like it because it's not a fluke. Let me ask you this: does anybody from Iowa do that? I don't think so. No. Does anybody from Michigan do that? Illinois, Northwestern? I don't think so, Matt. So, yes, I've lost respect for him. And I used to really, really respect him because I knew he was the one coach in the Big Ten that could give the Big Ten a run. I don't care anymore.
This is off topic a little bit. Do you have more animosity right now for Michigan State or for Purdue?
You are really pushing buttons, but I don't blame you for asking me.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Hell of a question. Today, and you remember what I told you last week about Purdue? Right now, it's Michigan State. Wow. I am heated. And I have friends. When you put this on Facebook, 60% of my family members live in Flint and Saginaw. There's tons of them.
Oh, I didn't know
And I love my family. Oh, my gosh, yes, man. We look on social, and they're Lions fans. I just don't want to tell you that.
Oh.
Yeah, man. So, and they're Michigan State
people.
fans. But I don't care today. But anyway, yes. So,
okay.
Sorry, man.
I bring up, and I thought it was a good question. And I think my frustration, and we do a poll question every day, and some of them we get like 50 like votes, and this one is taken off. And it's a simple question. I thought it was a good question. I had some Illinois fans like question my sanity. I think it's a good question. As of today, who's got a better case for Big Ten Player of the Year? Keaton Wagler or Bennett Sturtz? And I've been on the show with you on it praising Keaton Wagler. So it wasn't anything negative towards Keaton. I think they both have solid cases for it. My question was, and I love the fact that we're in the Quad Cities and we have a lot of Iowa and Illinois fans. So did I do it to stir the pot? Yeah, a little bit, but it's as even as can be. 59 or 50.9%, 49.1%. That's how close it is when it comes to your thoughts, Ked. Who has got the better case? I know you're going to say, everybody's like, that's a dumb question, Matt. Of course he's going to say Wagler.
It's not a dumb question.
But like,
it's not.
Your thoughts on the topic and where you're at with Big Ten Player of the Year, maybe.
It's not a dumb question. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. If I really and truly thought that Bennett had a better case, Matt, I would say it. You know me, and some of the people who know me personally, I do not lie. I just sat and told you that one of our players, a star that I love to death, flops, and if I was an official, I would call him. I would call it. So I'm not saying because Bennett, because he's a great, and I think he's going to be an NBA player, number one. But truthfully, it is Keaton Wagler. Keaton Wagler is one of 3 guys, which I've told you about, that when you hear, do I think he's going to make first team all Big Ten? Yes, I do. And I have a problem with that, and I don't want to forget my thought. But he is not going to win Player of the Year. He's not. That award is going to go to Mr. Trippy himself from Michigan State. Jeremy Fears.
Do you think Jeremy Fears might win it?
as much as I'm frustrated with that kid, Matt, that kid is having a hell of a season. I mean, he's putting up, Matt.
So hey, let's do first. Let's do first team all five. I'm sorry, first team.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I need to answer
kid
your
from
question.
Michigan.
I'm sorry.
Kid from Michigan.
Yes, Jackson Blood, or is that his name? I gotta make sure I get his name right. Yaxel Lindenborg.
Yep.
Him,
Fears.
Bennett, Fears, Braden Smith, and Keaton Wagler. So here's a problem that I have, and I want you to tag this part of your show to the Big Ten and hashtag it at basketball. You bring in 6,000 teams to the conference now. Okay, there's 18. You can't have 5 people on the All Big Ten team. You can't, because you have a guy like Nick Martinelli who's going to lead the conference in scoring and not make it. If you're going to have 18 teams, Matt, put 10 people on it, because you got Blackwell from Wisconsin. He deserves to be on that team, and so is Nick Martinelli. But they're not going to make it. They're not going to make that. They're just not. And I think that's awful. The problem I have with this, so to answer you, going back to your question with Keaton Wagler
why Bennett? Why Wagler over Sturtz right now?
Because he's put up some unbelievable numbers against some of the best teams. I saw the other day, I think, when I saw Bennett, when I think he put up 30-something against Oregon. I'm not disrespecting Oregon. Don't get me wrong. But Keaton Wagler had arguably the best performance of anybody in college basketball this year. He really did. Yep. Then he backs it up. He's done it a number of times. And here's a guy that has done it against the best. Until Michigan State, he did not play well. I'm not saying that he did, because he did not play well at all. But if I'm looking at what he's done on the national stage and against the competition he's done it against, now if you sit and tell me that, and I'm not expecting Ben to score 40 points, because, I mean, let's be honest, that's tough to do for a lot of people, okay? But who he did it against, and the timing of it. So I think I listen to other national people, and I think they kind of feel the same way. I really do. And then here's a part that I'm not a fan of, and I'm really curious to know what you think on this. When I first got involved with this, I used to get a vote for the All Big Ten team. And before I started socializing with other people, I stayed true to who I was, and I'm still going to do that. Most people will tell you, I'm not going to vote for Bennett, because here's why, Matt. And I know you've heard this. Well, his team can't contend for a title, so he's not going to win it. What the hell?
So
remember Kewan Garris and Andre Warwich? Those guys didn't compete for title, and Kewan Garris was great, but he couldn't win. Deion Thomas, as good as he was, he couldn't win an award because his team wasn't good.
Who was it? Didn't Bobby Jackson win that year? Didn't Bobby Jackson beat out Andre Woolridge and Kewan Garris?
All those, yes. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't punish kids, because I'm gonna tell you, Ben. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I told you I tell the truth. You may remember this, when the All Big Ten team came out, I was arguing. I'm thinking, what the hell? But after watching that kid play, he deserves to be on that team. The kid's good, man. Yeah, he's really, really good.
Let me be the voice for Bennett Sturtz, and I have been for Keaton Wagler too, and his 46-point game was amazing and all those kind of things. It depends how you look at the award. It's supposed to be, because what I'll get on social media is take Bennett off Iowa and flip them. Put Wagler on Iowa, put Bennett on Illinois, or not even flip him. Forget that. If Bennett's not doing for Iowa what he's doing, he is scouting report A, B, and C. And obviously Wagler's A there, but the parts around him are so much better at Illinois than at Iowa. That's a fact.
Matt. It goes back to the team, and I don't agree with that. But that's how voters look at it.
No, and voters are going to vote. Is it a most valuable player award? Because if it's the most valuable player, it's probably Bennett because of his value to Iowa. If you take Bennett off Iowa, Iowa's probably not a tournament team. You take Wagler off Illinois, and he's really, really good, but you still have Boswell coming back. The Twins,
but he's not there
Merkovich,
right
all those. I get you. I just think
that's not a good argument.
There's still a really good basketball team, right? Like Illinois is
not a top, but they're not a top 10 team.
Totally agree. I'll tell you, Bennett's almost 50, 40, 90 guy. He's over 50% from the field, 40% from three. He's 86, I think, percent from free throw line. If you're a 50, 40, 90% guy, that's something. So, like, when I'm talking good about one, it's you can still say, like, that's what I was surprised about. I was talking to our friend Tom Kakert earlier, and he's like, some Illinois fans were like appalled that I asked the question. I can say it's Keaton Wagler. I can say it's Wagler and not be disparaging towards Bennett Sturts. I can say it's Sturts and not be. Remember back, what was it a few years ago? Was it Coburn and Luca?
Yes, it was.
And your silly self thought it was
We've
Coburn?
had debates on it.
You were wrong and thought it was Coburn.
No, I wasn't, but I'll tell you what. Let me ask you. I think Kofi was a 3-time All-American. I think 2 or 3 times. I don't know if Luca was. I mean, Luca had a great career, and I don't base off NBA, but I think Kofi. Well, I know this. I don't know if Iowa hangs their number jerseys up in the rafter, but I know Kofi was a 2-time All-American. I do know that. I don't know, and I know 1 year Luca.
They hung his.
Might not have been.
They hung his to the rafters, right? It might have been upside down.
Who?
But
Kofi or
Kofi? It might have been upside down.
No.
It might have been upside down, but
I'll take that one. Well, so, I don't know. Here's the deal. If you look at those numbers, let's look at Pierce. Go ahead.
No, you're good. When we had those arguments back in the day, I wasn't disparaging Kofi, and that's the same way with this. One can be good, and that doesn't mean the other one. I'm not insulting Wagler by even bringing up Bennett. And so here's I think my overall point. If Bennett, now they have a hard stretch. They have Nebraska twice. They got Purdue. They got Michigan. They get Wisconsin on the road. If he keeps playing the way he's playing through that stretch, and suddenly, let's say they can win games, and see if they can win. But you just said team wins doesn't matter.
I don't, but that's what the media, national media does. That matters to them.
Yeah.
To Kedric, it doesn't.
Completely agree. And that's why it's February 10th. But like, I think he's got a chance with the tougher part. And here's the plus for Keaton Wagler. He did it at Purdue. He did it in Iowa City. He did it at Nebraska. Exactly. So and Bennett's been really good. I mean, and here's what I will say about Bennett too. I didn't think going from the Valley to the Big Ten, he would be better. He's better in every category than last year, going from the Valley to the Big Ten. I'm surprised that he's able to do it. Both are very good basketball players. We'll have this debate again in like 3 weeks. I love it. And I don't know what the answer is.
Can I make one more comment? I want to make one more
I'll
comment.
say Bennett because I have to.
No, I don't have to because I'm going to tell you, I'll tell the truth. I don't give a damn what people think. I'll be truthful. If people are mad because of the comments, take the heart out of it. If you ask me to do a poll and I saw something, I'm going to tell the truth. You can't, in my job, I'm not, especially like when I was getting a vote, I take a heart out. So here's an example, Matt, and I'm not trying to make your show go long.
No.
I put a Twitter, I know we have an agenda. I put a Twitter poll up a few days ago. Mm-hmm. Who was the women's Big Ten freshman of the year? Because I looked at it as a two-person race. Illinois' Yara Parchment and USC's Jasmine Davidson. Jasmine was the number 1 player in the country coming out of high school. She was number 1. Sierra was number 40. But I even put 3 national hosts, I tagged them in, and they responded to me. And they couldn't decide. Sunday, the girl from USC, I played Sierra Parchment. So I probably got to give it to her.
Yeah.
But my point is, I can do that. I can see and not think with my heart. You can love Illinois, you can love Iowa, you can love Michigan State, it doesn't matter. But why lie about it? I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to take something away. Truthfully, like I said to you, Bennett deserves to be on that team. And Matt, he surprised me, and I think a lot of people. The hatred because people hate Iowa, they can't give him credit. Jeremy Fierce, truthfully, is probably the leader of it, to tell you the truth. Right now, he's probably, if he wasn't, playing kung fu on people, he probably, it would probably be a lock.
Real quick, one of the comments, and I didn't get a lot of them, it's fine, was crazy question. Sturts won't even make all Big Ten first team. What are we doing here? And I'm like, that's not a silly question. Sturts was a preseason All-American, and he's probably exceeded expectations, which is pretty good. Okay, real quick before I let you go, football, we don't know a ton about the new defensive coordinator. Bobby Hawk is his name, from Montana, 151 victories there, just 43 losses, 61 years old, 8 Big Sky championships. He brings an aggressive 3-3-5 defense to Illinois. You got to give him the opportunity and the benefit of the doubt and all those kind of things. But I do know the Partridge guy was what a lot of people around the program and the Illinois nation wanted. Your thoughts just quickly on the DC hire for football.
Well, it was a major curveball, change-up, slider, splitter, whatever you want to call it, because I didn't see that coming. Not that I would. I don't think the players saw that coming either. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know much about the guy. On paper, he looks really good, but I knew you were going to ask this question, and this time I'm going to kind of give Mr. Haktui some credit. I know it's not his name. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Michigan State. I'm in a bad mood. I got to put that in the past. If Bennett can come to the Big Ten and do what he's doing, we got to give this guy a chance because you don't know. You never look at a guy, a person, a girl, male or female, and just assume that they can't get it done. Because here's the deal. Aaron Henry was never a defensive coordinator, and he got the job. And he was, to me, he was decent. Wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible like some of the Illinois fans think. He deserves a chance just like everybody else. And I think Brett made the comment, well, I know he did. He wanted somebody that he felt comfortable with that could just call a game and he didn't have to worry about it. If I had a concern, and I don't have any concerns about what he's running defensively or where he's from, it's his ability to recruit. High school players and his ability to, if you get a kid that's in the transfer portal, how you can convince them to come to Illinois. Illinois has always done pretty decent with players, from a defensive standpoint. You look at Molin's Matthew Bailey, what he was like coming out of high school to where he is now. Brett talked about him possibly playing in the NFL on Sunday. So that's my only concern because he deserves a chance. I'm not going to sit and say he's going to be, what is it, Norm Parker? Is that the Iowa defensive coach name?
Phil Parker
I love
now.
that dude.
Norm
Phil Parker. I'll tell you.
Norm was before him.
Sorry. I'll tell you right now, man. You know what? If I had a couple extra dollars, I could buy him, man. I'd throw some Godfather's pizzas at that guy or something,
there you
man.
go.
I'm telling you.
Now you're talking.
I like that dude. That dude can. He is. Now you want to know if I'm jealous? Watching the Iowa tackle in open space and play defense. Kedric is jealous of that. So I'm telling you, I can tell the truth. Watching Iowa play defense makes me jealous. There you go.
Ken, this has been too much fun. I mean, this has been a bunch of fun. Hey, real fast, and I don't want to go forever. That Caden Constantine's going to be really good for Illinois. He's a fun interview, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I like that. Just real quick, I had an interview with him too, and what's cool about it, and our job, Matt, when we interview kids, I can't stand when you ask a question. Hey, how's it going? Fine. How's your season going? 83.
He expands.
I'm just yes, and it makes sometimes I'm getting to the point now because I'm older. I'm like, look, I'm gonna interview you, but damn it, I need more than 2 or 3 words. You got to open up your mouth. Say something. Because when my kids were in high school, I prepped my kids. We practiced it. You look bad by doing that, and it makes you look smart. You just ask me. Look how when I sent that into my boss, that article I wrote, I didn't even have to say anything. He was like, "Boy, these are some great quotes." Yes, so I'm excited about the kid. I'm happy for him, and he's got a chip on the shoulder. So yes, I'm kudos. I saw the interview. He was great to me as well. Yeah,
no, it's good stuff. Ken, I always appreciate you. Thanks for being you. It makes it fun.
I know you like that, man. You always get me fired up. Man. It's not hard to do, man.
I thought that was good. This is good. It's good to have a conversation. Hey, be good. We'll catch up soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. That is Kedric Prince talking everything you want with Illinois. So Illinois people, we do cover Illinois a lot with Ked and Jim Adson and Mike Hagley. It's all good stuff. So we got more to get to. It's Tuesday in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. As we've mentioned a lot over the last several days and weeks, it's becoming that fun time of year in high school basketball in general, but high school basketball, everyone focuses on March Madness. It's actually that February frenzy that things get crazy, as the postseason will be here for the ladies, I believe, next week in the state of Illinois, and one of the best teams in the entire state resides. A couple of them reside in the Western Big Six. One of them down in Galesburg. The Silver Streaks, 25-3 on the season, 11-2 in Western Big Six play. And joining me now to talk more about that is their head coach, Lexi Demott. Lexi, first and foremost, thank you for doing this. It makes me feel old because Lexi Daniels is someone I covered for like 4 years, and it seems like yesterday. You're not supposed to be old enough to be a head coach someplace, young lady.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
It's been fun watching Galesburg from afar. 25-3, 11-2, I believe, in conference play. I want to talk about the Streaks in a second. This is your second year at your alma mater, and you followed some guy named Evan Massey, who had a pretty good resume. What's it been like? Obviously, you played for Evan, but I know it's cliche. You took over for a legend. What's it been like becoming the head coach at Galesburg High School?
It's been awesome. I've had tons of support. The community support has been awesome. My administration behind me, the athletic directors, everybody has been amazing to me. Any questions I come with, the late night phone calls, I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to do this. Everybody's been great. And that also leads down to my assistants. I have Jim Noonan on my staff, who is a longtime coach himself, and he's been great for me. He really has. And then obviously I still have Coach Massey's, phone number, and whenever I need a question or, I just need to talk something out, even if I've already talked to Noonan about it, I, still may call Massey and say, hey, I really need to talk through this. He's always, either quick to call me back or quick to answer and talk to me for however long I need it. And so, it's been great, and I felt very supported the whole way so far.
Coach, you mentioned Evan. It's hard to say, answer the tough question is, what has he meant to you? Because I'm sure it's a 2-hour show and we could probably go 3 hours with that. But in a quick snippet, obviously basketball wise, I'm sure he's meant a lot. Off the court wise, I think he's meant a lot probably. What has that man meant to you when it comes to not just being a coach, but being a person as well?
Yeah, a lot. Obviously, I met him when I was a 14-year-old kid at that time. And, I just loved playing basketball. And I remember being in 8th grade and watching his team play. And I still have a journal entry where I drew a picture, obviously stick figures. I'm no artist here, guys. And it was of their team. And I wrote in there that when I get to high school, I want to play for Coach Massey. That was my goal. And then when I got to do it and be a part of it, and, he really did. He helped me believe in myself and trust in myself. And he was always there to, if I wanted to get better and I wanted extra time in the gym, he was always there to open it up. He was always there to be supportive and build confidence, not just in myself, but all of us that were playing for him. And, he did something very special here. And I can't thank him enough for what he has done, for me, but also I can speak for many others that are behind me and in front of me, what he did for them while he was here and a part of, this program.
You played for him, you coached with him. For 4 years. I'm sure you learned a lot then as well. Talk about how that came to be, and how did Lexi, who loves basketball, get back into being a basketball coach and then learning from him. Take me through that transition.
Yeah, so my senior year was COVID, and so from college I got sent home early because of that. And so when I came back home, I was planning on teaching. I had my teaching degree. That's what I was getting. And then I knew I wanted to coach, but I always thought I wanted to do it at the junior high level, which is crazy to me now because that's a whole different beast in itself. Being able to do that, and so he had actually reached out and said, hey, do you want to be a volunteer assistant with the varsity? And then, if we want to do junior high and stuff, we can figure that out. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I started that. And then as the years gone on, Coach Barshinger was still the assistant at the time. And after that first year, he stepped away. And so then I kind of transitioned into his role. And each year I kept getting more and more responsibilities. And then that's kind of when it started to creep in, like, wow, I could really do this for a long time. And I really hope I get the opportunity, to kind of, be at the helm of all of this. And then that conversation, and I remember having that conversation with him. And I remember just, hugging him at the end of it and, feeling like, okay, this is everything I could have asked for and more. And then he really did, like, along the way, he just showed me the ropes. And, I still don't know everything, but, he's a big part of why I've been able to do what I've been able to do in my first 2 years, for sure.
So 2 years in, Lexi, do you ever hear Coach Massey when you speak? Do you ever find yourself going, oh my gosh, that was Coach. I just said what Coach used to always. Do you laugh? I believe probably once or twice, maybe?
Yeah, just because I do remember, being in the player in that situation, and thinking, okay, if this was him, what would he be saying to us? What would his emotions be? Because he was so good at, keeping that cool head when things were hot, but also being able to pull the best out of each player when he needed to. And so I do find myself kind of going back and thinking to myself, hey, what was he saying at this time? Or remember this moment? Or when I was on his coaching staff, what did he say? And how did we handle this situation? So yeah, that does happen. And, he still always jokes that he comes to the games to sit behind the bench to question everything that I'm doing. So
I love it. Lexi Demott joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo, head coach at Galesburg. I want to talk about this team because 25-3, some fantastic victories along the way, a number 2 state ranking. When did you realize that this was a special group of young ladies that could do some pretty cool things?
Honestly, last year, I knew I wanted, the way that I wanted to play, I wanted to be up tempo. I wanted to be fast. I wanted to get up and down the floor, and I wanted to defensively just hound somebody for 32 minutes. I know my freshman year we ran the system, and that was very similar to that, but more of shooting threes and layups. And my first summer, and then with Coach Noonan coming from Farmington, where he did the run and jump, we were able to start to implement that. And over the course of that summer, we were really able to see, hey, this style of play is really going to bode well for the kids that we have and the athletes that we have. And since then, it's kind of just really taken off, and they've really bought into it. It's a lot of wear and tear on their bodies, though. But they have not once ever complained about it. You would never know that, the way we practice is, obviously you hear practice the way you play. So I'm proud. We get up and down the floor quite a bit. And then you throw in the games and all the other things. And you don't hear them ever, say, oh, I can't today, or, I'm not, my body's sore. You don't ever hear that from them. They just, they keep going because they enjoy it so much.
Coach, you go into the season and the wins start piling up. I know a victory against Quincy earlier in the season. I know you end up splitting, but earlier in the season kind of, I think, turned a lot of people's attention maybe up here that wait, Galesburg's, we knew they were good, but they're really good. Is there a signature victory and we talk about the 3 losses. Everybody learns from losses. Talk about the journey so far and what it's been like. You knew it was going to be pretty good. That journey and seeing is believing, I think, for young ladies. And they've been seeing it, 25 times this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about confidence. And, a thing that we say is, if you don't think that you can, you won't. You really won't. And especially in this game. And it's unfortunate that that's the way this game goes. But if you don't have that confidence in yourself, I feel like basketball is a game where it really exposes that extremely well when you're on the floor. And so, we've had this mentality all year that, we can, and, we keep playing the next play, the next game, the next possession, all of those things. And so, yeah, we've been knocked a couple times, but I will think, I'd like to think that, losing to Sterling early on could have went one or two ways for us. It could have, we just need to throw everything out the window, and what we want is not going to work, and we need to start over. But that didn't happen. I think we went on like a 18 game win streak until we got to Loyola, and then playing Loyola, number one team. I think they were maybe 2 or 3 at the time, but we went to Loyola and played there, and that's a great ball club. Obviously there are many state appearances, all of those things, and that was tough for us. I think we did end up losing by 30 points or so, and I think it could have been easy then for the girls to say, okay, well, clearly playing a state-ranked team at a higher level, what we do doesn't work, so we got to scrap it again. But that didn't happen. They got right back on the horse, and they kept going. And then we went until we had to go play at Quincy. And we knew that was going to be tough, and we knew it was going to be hard. And just, unfortunately, some days it's not your day to, do it. And, we didn't do the things that we always wanted to. And I think it's safe to say for myself and the kids, it wasn't, either of our best games. There's things that I wish I could have went back and did, but I can't. And so, I shared that message with them that, it's not just you, it's also, me feeling the same thing and, wishing, oh, should I have, but I think about that anymore because we've got to move on. And so we played that game Saturday and we moved right on to another game on Monday. And then we ended up having 3 games in that week. And so, I think that the losses have been good for us because we've been able to see like, okay, look, we need to value each possession maybe a little bit more. We need to be a little bit more patient or more disciplined defensively. Like if we would have done this a couple more times, look what would have maybe happened. And I think that this has been a team just full of sponges. They're young, and so they just keep taking everything in and they keep applying it. And I think that's why they've had so much success, so far this year.
Coach, the postseason is here. It's right around the corner, all those kind of things. And that's kind of where teams can be defined. Obviously, there's Western Big Six goals and regular seasons. Every game's important. But we talked before we started, 30-3 your senior year, and when you lost in the junior year, and we won't talk about it, but so close to beating a really good Morton team in the sectional championship game. This is where seasons can be defined. What's your message to your girls as you guys get ready to go down their path in the postseason?
It's another game. At the end of my pregame speech to them in the locker room, I always tell them, "You're ball players. Let's go play ball." And because that's what they are, and that's what this is. And it's hard. I feel like as a coach because it's a big moment. They know it's a big moment. You don't want to downplay it that it's not, but you don't want to upplay it either because that's when I feel like other emotions get set in and brought into play that don't need to be, and we've talked about it all year long. It is just, I don't want to say it's just another game, but it's another game. You've prepared for this. You've worked for this. You are ready for this challenge. And now it's time to go do it. And so, we, at the beginning of the year, we had a message of a turkey dinner. And, on a random Tuesday night, you could eat a turkey dinner, turkey, mashed potatoes, corn, biscuit, all the things. And it would just be another dinner to you. But then when it comes to Thanksgiving Day, it's the same exact meal, but all this other stress you start to see from your families plays into it because, oh, it's Thanksgiving. But in reality, it's just another turkey dinner. And so, that's kind of the analogy that we've had since the beginning of the year and what we've talked about. And, I feel like they've really taken to that and they've been taking one game at a time and not trying to look forward. And so, I have all the confidence in the world in them. And I trust in them and believe in them. And, I'm excited that, hopefully they have a great opportunity set ahead of them and getting to hopefully eventually come back here and play in a sectional at Galesburg this season. So
it's a fantastic analogy. I'm hungry now, but it's a fantastic analogy. Coach, tell me about this team off the court. Every team has their identity, their goofiness, all of those kind of things in a great way. You have to have good chemistry. You're not winning 25 games if there's not good chemistry and probably some goofballs roaming around on that team too. Talk about that side of things. I know that's important.
We definitely have that, for sure. They are a great group of kids. When you talk about family, that is it. I mean, it does help that we have, sisters, we have triplets and a cousin that make up its own little family on its own. But they are all one big family. They are goofy for sure. If we start practice or they've done dynamics and Noonan and I are talking about something, there's times that they've tried to pretend like they're sleeping. I don't know, like they want to see how long it's going to take for me to say something to them. There's been times that they're doing dynamics and on the last one, they'll run out of the gym and stand in the front foyer of the entranceway to Thiel and then look in the doors to see if I'm coming to find them. And if I don't come and find them, they'll move to try to see if I'm going to go look for them or to see if they can hide. And so they are the best group. And I think that's what's something that too has helped them. Obviously, like you said, if you don't have chemistry, it's hard to be successful. But that's what's helped make those losses or tough losses a little bit easier because they have each other, whether that be on the bus ride home or, in the locker room the next day or in the classroom. A lot of them have classes together at school. Or they're in athletic PE with Coach Noonan. And so they see each other there and they're working hard again and they're getting right back to the grind. They are a great group and they are just, I know that they're always going to put a smile on my face somehow, some way when I see them, at practice or at the game to get on the bus.
Lexi Demott, head coach at Galesburg, joining us. A few more fun questions and I'll let you get back to your real job.
Okay.
I always ask if you could, first, I guess, foremost, I'm a foodie, if you couldn't tell because of the turkey analogy that I loved. Do you have a post-game food celebration or what's the favorite place to go eat? And I know Galesburg's different from the Quad Cities, so Quad City places are different than Galesburg. What's the place in Galesburg that if you're going to get some food, maybe celebrate a victory, where's it at?
Depending on time, Cherry Street, downtown, we to go there. Sometimes we just head over to Buffalo Wild Wings. It's very close to high school, and a lot of us just live kind of in that area, and so it's easy to just head straight there and then get home afterwards.
Lexi, are you a spicy wing girl? Are you brave or no?
No,
okay.
Not at all.
Just checking. If you could have dinner with one person ever, dead, alive, however you want to do it, if you could have a meal with one person, who would it be and why?
Oh, I only got to pick one. That would be hard, but I would probably say my papa. I lost him when I was in college still. And the two, my grandma and my papa, I wish I could bring my grandma too, but I'll just go with one for now.
We can bring grandma too.
Okay, there we go. So probably the two of them. They were my biggest supporters when it came to anything sports and basketball here. And I lost them both when I was away at college. And so I know that me doing what I'm doing now, they would be beyond ecstatic for me. I do know that every game and everywhere I am, they have the best seat in the house, but I wish I could hear them and I wish I could talk to them about what I'm doing now and what's going on. So definitely the two of them.
I love that answer. I absolutely love that answer. Lexi, are you superstitious? And if so, what are your superstitions? And don't lie to me, young lady. I have a feeling you might have a few.
I am. I actually wasn't until Coach Noonan. Coach Noonan is very superstitious. And so there was a time he started wearing these, he always wears Brooks shoes. And so he started wearing these Nikes. And I was like, what are these? Like, why are we wearing these? And he's like, well, ever since I don't even remember, it was some win. He's like, we've been doing good since then. So I haven't stopped wearing them. And so he kind of started to play in that. So I have to, I wear the same like rings on my fingers. I have to wear the same rings. I have the same shoes that I wear every single game. And then I have 2 different, like kind of dry fitty shirts. And most of the time when I'm picking one out, I kind of go back to think, okay, when maybe the last time we played, or when was the last time, what happened the last time I was wearing this one or that one. So yes, I do have very much superstitions and different things that I'm wearing per se, besides, I don't know what other things there could be, but very much as far as my attire, it is very superstitious.
I love it. I love it. Last one for you. We talked with Coach Thiel earlier this season, obviously a Galesburg alum. You're a Galesburg alum. We've talked a lot about it. That community is a special community, I know, for you. What is it about that community? And we kind of talked beforehand. It helps. If you're a streak, it's probably easier to come in and be a streak heads coach than if not. What is it about that community that makes it special and makes alumni want to come back and give back and be part of it once again?
Yeah, I think I kind of touched on it at the beginning, the support from the community. I mean, there's nothing better than playing in John Thiel when it's packed and it's a Thursday night conference game. The band is playing, it's loud. We get to shut the lights off and the spotlight and the video and all the things. Those are it's just the adrenaline starts to go through you. And the kids, when they are leaving the game or when they are out in public and they run into people that come to the games and telling them, hey, great job last night, or we can't wait to watch you play next week. Them getting recognized by people they probably have no idea who they even are. But it's just something to them that makes them feel special. It makes them feel like, oh, I've made an impact. The little kids, the Future Streaks program that we have, when they show up to the games and, they sit in their own little area, or, you see them up top with their spotlight, their flashlights on their phone on, cheering. And after the game, they stand around where the kids go into the locker room and wait to see them go in. It's something about a pride aspect, I think, and the memories that you make here are something that you're going to remember forever. And I tell the kids that, and I know they probably think I'm crazy, but it really is. You remember these trips and the bus trips and the crowds and the little kid moments, the summer trips, all of those things you don't forget. And I think that's why so many people want to come back to Galesburg as far as alums and coach and try to build that same experience that they had here. And so, I'm thankful for everything that the Galesburg community has done. And, I hope they continue to show up loud and proud for all of the, streaks now, but also the future streaks that are coming up as well.
Coach, I texted you yesterday and I said, hey, can I get 15 minutes of your time? I lied. I took 25, but this was a lot of fun.
All right.
Keep winning games. We're going to be watching from afar, and we'll catch up maybe after a regional or a sectional championship. How's that sound?
That sounds great to me.
I love it. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you once again.
Yep, thank you.
All right, that is Lexi Demott joining us, the head coach at Galesburg, the Silver Streaks, ranked number 2, 25-3, one of the best teams in the entire state. Look for them to have some fun and a good postseason as well. We got more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West. the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
You from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. February 10th, and I was just, I have a sick kid at home, and I was just downstairs and chatting with him, and it's weird because it's February 10. Like, I think February is the fastest month that goes by. Now, obviously, it's the one with the least days, so I don't need the text messages and the social media tweets saying I'm gonna. Yes, I get that. It's obviously shorter. It just flies by, and it is already. Valentine's Day is Saturday. Remember that, gentlemen out there. Don't forget to celebrate Valentine's Day and be nice to your significant other or whatever. So that's my friendly reminder. I'm awful with it as well. So fun show today. Kyle Huesmann kind of pulling double duty, talking Iowa women's basketball. They play Washington tomorrow at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and then also Iowa baseball. It starts later this week, which is crazy. So great to have Kyle on. If you missed it, go check it out. Kedric Prince was great. I'm sorry whether you love him, you hate him, and you shouldn't hate him because he's great. He's an awesome human being and a great person. A lot to talk about. And the comments about Bennett Sturtz or Keaton Wagler continue to come in. They're great. Keep them coming. We love that. It's fun to have that debate in this area. I think it's Bennett right now. I really do. And I love Keaton Wagler. I do. I think what he has going for him is that he did it some huge games against the best competition on the road. Bennett is just, he's so important to Iowa, and everything he did at Drake has gotten better at Iowa. And he's almost a 50-40-90 guy, 50% from the field, 40% from three. I think he's like 86% from the free throw line. So if his one negative is that he's only an 86% free throw shooter. Now, with that being said, it's going to ramp up these next few weeks. He's going to play some of the best teams in the Big Ten, and he wasn't very good against Illinois. I think he was under the weather, the focal point, all of those kind of things. I get that. And Michigan State was his first Big Ten game. So I'm eager to see against the elite of the Big Ten how he plays. So it's a great conversation, great topic. Continue to weigh in. It's not to hate on one or the other. I think Keaton Wagler is outstanding. And I think they're both going to play in the NBA probably next year. So what I've heard about Bennett Sturtz is he's probably just outside of the lottery right now. I know that's kind of where he was to start the season. And I guess my concern would be the Big Ten would expose some things and he might have dropped. He hasn't been exposed yet. And I think he's kind of stayed right there from the people that I've talked to. Not that I have the greatest of knowledge, but a few people that do know the NBA draft and those kind of things I've chatted with, and they've kind of told me those kind of things. So Ked was great. Go watch him. And then also Lexi Demott. She was Lexi Daniels when she was at Galesburg, and I was covering her, and she's now in her second year as the head coach at Galesburg, replacing Evan Massey and doing a fantastic job. 25-3, ranked second in the state. I believe she said if they win regionals, they host sectionals, which would be really cool at Thiel Gymnasium. So Great conversation with her. If you're a Galesburg fan or a Western Big Six fan, go listen to that if you miss that as well. Coming up tomorrow on the show, Jake Brand is always on a Wednesday talking Cyclones. Julian Vandervelde is going to join me. We're going to talk about a new segment or series we've got ready to start here on Off the Air. Really excited about that. We'll get his thoughts on Iowa football and everything else because we haven't talked to Julian in a long time. So Julian Vandervelde tomorrow, Jake Bryan tomorrow. We'll talk about Illinois' game with Wisconsin tonight, tomorrow, and a bunch more. Nesto Hoops on Thursday, talking about our local teams and how their postseason may look on the Illinois side of the river. Really excited about that coming up on Thursday. Also on Thursday, we'll chat with Central DeWitt girls. They won the MAC. They were under the weather over the weekend and early this week. So I know Ava Putnam, Emma Putnam, and maybe a few others joining us on Thursday. So we've got that planned out and a bunch more. So a lot more to get to this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, all of those good things. Tell a friend or all your friends about what we're doing each and every weekday, 10 a.m. Thanks so much for watching Off the Air on Tuesday. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow.